Hello YouTube friends and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Deidre from Our Upcycled Life and I do lots of thrifting, upcycling, repurposing, and DIY content, and I love new crafting friends. So make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications so you don't miss any great DIY content. And I also want to thank Skillshare for sponsoring today's video. Today I have 4 air-dried clay Valentine DIY crafts that are super easy and they're lots of fun to even create with your kids. They're that easy. So we're going to get right at it. The first project that I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little dish. This is cute to make up for a little Valentine's Day gift, and it's super easy. I've just got some of my Das clay. I'm just kind of molding it around in a little circle. I like using these wooden slats. They're about 1/4 of an inch in diameter, and it's perfect for when you want to roll out your clay because it'll keep your clay all the same width all the way across. I found this container of crinkled pastry cutters. I found it ages ago, vintage, but I love it for my air-dried clay. I'm going to use this size just to press out a circle into that clay. Take off the extra, and you have a beautiful little scalloped edge on your air-dry clay. If you don't have anything like that, you can always use a glass or any sort of circle to push your clay out into the circle shape. I love using doilies to create texture in air-dry clay. This is one I picked up at the thrift store. I only use it on my air-dry clay. I'm just going to kind of set it where I think it will look the best. Then I'm going to take my rolling pin and just gently press that right into that air-dried clay, and it leaves amazing texture. I have a little glass dish. I've just put some saran wrap inside of it, and I'm just going to gently push that down in just till I get the shape that I want. I just want the edges just lifted up just a little bit. And that's it. We're going to set that aside and let it dry. My little dish has sat overnight and it's quite dry in here, so it didn't take any longer than that. And you can tell when it's dry because it'll still have that wet clay look to it. This looks really good. I'm going to put a coat of just some pink acrylic paint on it. I've got it all painted. It took 2 coats of the pink, but look at the texture in that. I just love the way the doily leaves that texture in the air dry clay. I think I want to just put a little bit of gold. I have some gold acrylic paint, just kind of almost like a dry brush over it, just to make kind of that pop a little bit. And I think it just makes it look really nice. I think that little touch of gold just kind of softened up that pink a little bit, and I really like it now. I'm going to put a really good coat of polyacrylic sealer on it to seal it right up, because I'm going to use it as a little maybe place to hold earrings or little pieces of jewelry, and I want it sealed up really well if we need to dust it. I think this is just a cute little trinket dish. So easy. You can do that with kids. It just took overnight to dry. Cute, simple DIY for Valentine's Day. Next project, I'm going to cut some hearts out of air dry clay. I have just cut these out of some paper so I can get the heart shape. I'm going to roll up my clay and then cut out the hearts. Same process as last time. I'm going to use these slats as a guide so I can get the right thickness, and I'm just going to roll it out until I get it nice and flat, and then I'm going to take those hearts and cut them out of that clay. I'm just going to place them where I can get the best amount out of them. Maybe one here and one here. And I'm going to use an X-Acto knife to cut them out. I've got 4 little hearts cut out, and they don't have to be perfect. I've just got a little dish of water. I'm just going to dip my finger in it, and if you just take your finger with a little bit of water, you can smooth out all of those edges around the air dry clay and make it look nice and finished. I've got all the edges smoothed out, and I found this stamp and it's got a beautiful flower on it, and I just want to put a little bit of a texture in these. So I'm just using the wood as the guide, and I'm just going to press down just gently so I can just get a little bit of a texture in those hearts, just so they're not just a plain piece of clay. And you can move it around and put the texture wherever you want, and it just gives it a little bit, you can just see just a little bit of a texture to it. Okay, I have them all done. And the nice thing about air dry clay is if you don't like it, roll it back up into a ball and start again. Okay, I want to mount these into a piece of wood. So I'm going to cut 4 pieces of wire, just random lengths. I don't want them all the same length because I want the hearts to kind of sit like this in a piece of wood. So I'm going to cut them and then put them right in the piece of clay. All done. Now we're going to set them aside and let them dry. And as they dry, the little piece of wire will get stuck right in there. If it does come loose after it's dry, we can always put a little bit of crazy glue or E6000 and stick it back in, but I've never had any problem. It usually sticks really well inside. My little hearts are dry and the wires are stuck right in there really well, and the texture is fantastic. I'm just going to paint these just with a really bright white. I've just got a piece of 2x4. I'm going to make it into a cute little sign and attach these on the top. And I have all kinds of Valentine's Day graphics in my Etsy store. Check them out. I'm going to use a really cute one on this. And the first thing I'm going to do is I am going to paint it with some of my black homemade chalk paint because I'm going to make it kind of distressed looking. Everything's got one coat of the black chalk paint, and now I'm going to put some white chalk paint just on the front here where I'm going to put my graphics. This is the graphic that I'm going to use. I think it's just adorable. I've printed it off on regular computer paper, made sure to reverse the text because I'm going to do my Mod Podge reverse graphic transfer method. So I'm just going to cut it out. I've got my board all ready, or my piece of wood all ready, and I've got a really nice kind of distressed background for my sign. The wire out of the one little heart came loose, so I'm just going to use my E6000. I'm just going to dip it in there. You don't need very much. And then put it back in, and that will glue that right in the spot where I need it to, and we're going to let it dry until we put the sign together. This is sat for 24 hours. I've got a little dish of water. I'm just going to wet it down just so you can start to see the graphics show through, and then you're going to rub off the paper. This takes a little bit of practice if you've never tried this technique before, but once you get the hang of it, it works fantastic. Got all the paper rubbed off. I'm going to put a coat of my polyacrylic sealer matte finish on top. Now let's get these hearts put on. I've measured out where I want my holes to be to put in my little hearts, and I've just marked them with a pen, and then I'm just going to drill some holes. To stick them in. I got my holes all drilled. I'm just going to use some E6000, dip the end of the wire in that, and then put it in the holes, and that will keep it nice and secure. I love the texture on these hearts. I think they're so elegant looking, and they complement that kind of old-fashioned looking graphic that I made. Put the last one in. And this one's finished. And it was so easy to make. I think this one's my favorite. The texture in those hearts turned out fantastic. I love this graphic. What an easy Valentine sign to put together. Next Valentine project, I'm going to make a big heart ornament. Just going to roll it out with my guides so I can get the right thickness. And then I'm going to use a paper heart cutout again to cut out the heart shape. And I'm going to use an X-Acto knife to get my shape. You would think with all of my craft supplies, I would have a heart cookie cutter. And I went through all of my stash and I couldn't find one. So I'll be on the lookout the next time I'm in the thrift store for some heart cookie cutters, or I might pick one up at the dollar store if I can find one there. I want to put some beautiful texture in this heart. I've just had a faux plant and I'm just going to use it to make an imprint into the clay. And you just want to lay it wherever and just gently roll it in. And because we have the guides here, it's going to not let it roll out any more than you need to. And I'm just going to kind of move it around so I can have texture through that whole heart. I just love looking through my house and seeing all the different things that you can use as texture. I actually did a video of 24 different textures of stuff that you can find around your house. And it's kind of amazing what you can create. But look at the texture in this. Just from that faux piece of leaf off the plant. I've just got a wooden skewer and I'm going to poke a hole right in the top. You don't want to make it too close to the top of the ornament so it breaks through, but just put a little hole through it and I'm going to set it aside and let it dry. Now we're going to work on this heart that I used the faux plant to create texture with. I like if it's a little bit rough around the edges, you can take a sanding block. This is like a 120 grit. Just lightly sand and it'll smooth that edge off really nice before you paint it. I don't like everything to be pink and red and white for Valentine's Day, so I thought I would do this one in a nice sage green. I just used some acrylic paint. This one was Christmas green, and I added a little bit of white to it to get this really nice green color, and I think it's going to really complement all that texture in the heart. I can put this out for Valentine's Day, but because it's not pink or red, I can leave it out after Valentine's Day because I really love this one. I love this little ornament. I love the texture in it. I added a little bit of jute and some beads to finish it off. And what I love most about this is I can display it at Valentine's Day, but I'm also going to keep it out after Valentine's Day. We're going to do a couple different textures in this piece. I'm going to roll it out so it's all the same width. And then we're going to use that doily again. I love the texture that doily gives. I'm just going to place it anywhere, doesn't really matter. And then roll it right into that air dry clay. That's perfect. And I got all kinds of texture on it. Now I found this stamp and it had love on it and some little hearts. I'm going to just press it right in to that clay. Just like that, so you can see the love. And then I found this cookie cutter. I really like the shape of it. I'm going to try to get the love in that bottom corner. And then I'm just going to press it right down into the clay. Take off the extra. Might have to push it down a little bit more. And take off the extra. And it'll pop right out. And we have a beautiful textured ornament. And I'm just going to work away at smoothing the edges and putting a hole here and here to hang some twine from it when it's all done. Okay, I have this one all ready. And once I paint it, when it's all dry, that love will pop right out. I just love all of that texture. Got my sander. I'm just going to sand it a little bit because the edges are a little bit rough. And then I've got some white or red latex paint that I'm going to paint this with. I've got a nice, deep, rich red that I'm going to paint this in. And I love this color. I've got it all painted, and I want to give it a little bit of a distressed look. So I've got my black latex paint, and I'm just going to use a stenciling brush and just do a real dry coat of black over top. I put a little bit of black on it, and then I kind of outlined the letters love so it popped out a little bit more, but I think it still needs something. So I'm going to add a little bit of gold to this too, and just kind of dry brush it on the top. This one was fun. I had a little bit of a struggle trying to get the colors properly to really like it, but I think I like the way that it is now with a little bit of gold, and I filled in that love with a little bit of black paint, and I think it kind of gave it a real kind of antique, kind of vintage look. But I love it, and it was really easy to create. If you appreciate a good DIY, you need to subscribe to Skillshare. If you've ever had any questions or just want to learn more about crafting, then Skillshare is the place for you. Skillshare is an online video-based platform where you can learn anything from photography to calligraphy. The difference between Skillshare and YouTube, and why I like it so much, is it focuses on interaction, much like being in the real-life classroom. The instructor lays out instructions and information in a way that's easy to comprehend, and it's also ad-free, so you can stay in the zone while exploring new skills. There's also new classes being launched every week, and there's always something to discover. I just finished taking Samantha Parker's ceramic and pottery class for beginners, and it was amazing. A lot of the techniques I used in my Valentine's air dry clay DIYs I learned from Samantha's class. For less than $10 a month, you can learn a new skill. If you click on the link in my description, the first 1,000 people will get to try Skillshare for 1 month free. So try it out and let me know what you think. So there's 4 easy air dry clay DIYs. If you have a stash of air dry clay in your craft room, break it out and give one of these techniques a try. Let me know down in the comments which one's your favorite.